Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to Business Innovators Radio. My name is Tim Dimmick and your host for today as we share an exciting new opportunity for businesses to obtain legal counsel at predictable and reasonable rates. Joining us today from Wayne, Pennsylvania to discuss this program is business attorney Janelle Snyder of Snyder Business Law. Snyder Law is a leading boutique law firm specializing in corporate and intellectual property matters, including business contracts, joint ventures, trademarks, patents, licensing, and other technology-related transactions. Janelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Tim.
We are excited to have you be able to join us today. We're certainly excited to hear more about this program you've got that's called Scribe. But before we dive into that, I'd always like our guests to share with our listeners what it is that brought you into, in your case, the field of business law.
Well, it was actually not my intention, not my dream growing up to be in business law. But after law school, I met a partner and saw an opportunity to start our own business. It was in the field of construction, and we took the leap and we jumped in and we started a local construction company that did millwork for commercial projects, and it was successful. So that's kind of where I got my first taste for business. When that partnership ended up, the partner and I weren't getting along anymore, so we broke that partnership apart. And afterwards, I went back to my legal degree and worked for a few small firms, and I got a lot of experience helping other small businesses. And I was kind of hooked at that point because I knew the inside. I knew what it felt like to make those tough decisions inside of the business.
Right.
And then I knew how it felt to be on the outside trying to help other people through those decisions.
That's a good story, and it's so true. You know, I really believe I'm excited about talking to you today because there is such a need for, you know, legal advice for small businesses and just your experience alone and what you've experienced and what caused you to do that. So your focus is on helping small business or businesses in general. Is there a certain criteria that you go by, or who is your main focus?
It's businesses in general. We do work with a lot of startups, but we also work with some larger companies as well. In the startup world, it's very much where they're only counsel, so they're looking to us to help them form the business, to help them with their initial vendor contracts, their initial independent contractor contracts, things like that, all the way up through medium-sized businesses who might have a lot of contracts or intellectual property to protect. Mm-hmm. And then even large businesses that might have in-house counsel already, but we help with that intellectual property piece that most in-house counsel don't know as much about. So that's the patents and the trademarks and things like that. So we actually help a very wide variety of businesses.
Okay. Do you find, obviously, I'm sure you do, find the fact that, you know, most small businesses, when it comes to small businesses, you know, they get into business as you did with your partner and you explained, but very few people even have really legally written contracts for their service or product or what have you. And I know I witness it all the time that the people are really sort of flying by the seat of their pants, you know, and mm-hmm. It's really dangerous.
Absolutely. I lived it. So I don't fault anyone for starting out with whatever they've created themselves. It's a starting point. It is a little bit dangerous as far as putting yourself out there and having a bit more liability. But as a small business, I understand you got to do what you got to do. So I never fault anyone that comes to our door.
Right.
But what happens is that there's a lot of avoidable problems. So, you know, you wrote your own contract and it probably contains a lot of good information, but it might be missing a few things, even a few terms that can catch you off guard later on. Or you think of this great name, but you haven't checked to see if anybody else is using it. And all of a sudden you get a cease and desist letter after you spent, you know, thousands of dollars on a marketing campaign. So really, I've seen it too much that smaller businesses, especially, they're afraid to reach out to an attorney because they're afraid of the cost.
Right.
So they make the best decision they can at the time, but it ends up coming back to bite them a few months or a few years down the road. So what I'm very passionate about trying to help these people come to a place where it's not scary to talk to an attorney. We don't talk down to our clients. We understand where they are, and we're trying to help them. And we try to make it easy for them to give us a call, because they don't necessarily know whether their question has a liability component to it that an attorney can answer or not. For example, they might have a new product they want to start developing. Okay, great. Is there something that we need to help them protect in that development, or protect them from in that development? Or maybe it's a great opportunity. We need to protect the opportunity.
Right.
So, but they don't necessarily know that, and we just want to be available. Ask us any question, and we'll tell you, oh, well, maybe that's a better question for your accountant, or absolutely we can help you answer that. Or, you know what, that's purely a business decision. We can help talk you through it, but just so you know, there's no legal component that you have to worry about.
Right. And again, it comes back to most people never pick up the phone and ask those questions because they're afraid of the costs. So
Absolutely.
With that, you designed this program called Scribe. Talk to us a little bit about what Scribe offers as far as a solution to businesses.
So what happened is I was in business first. So when I started my own law firm, I knew that I wanted to run it more like a business than a law firm. So that means I want to be efficient, I want to be practical, and I want to put the client's needs really in front of anything else. So we're not the kind of law firm that has the big fancy offices, the big heavy desks, the attorney sitting behind there looking down at you, sitting in a chair that's lower than yours. That's not what we're looking to do at all.
Right.
So what we did is we created this program, and it's an innovative way to pay for your legal services and still be receiving good quality services. And what it is it's a monthly subscription. So we'll sit down with the client to determine what their needs are, but then all the phone calls, all the emails, everything is included so that the client can give us a call whenever. Anything comes up, shoot us an email, give us a call. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. If it requires some research, we'll let you know that, and then we'll get back to you with the research. So it's really about making it easy for businesses to receive legal services, both on an emotional level. It's easy to talk to us. We're collaborative, we're cooperative, but also on a monetary level.
Sure.
We've already decided how much it's going to cost for you to call us. So it's not something to fear anymore. We're trying to take the fear out of it.
Right. And that's the big thing. And I'm sure, obviously the business type, the size of the business all has effects on what that cost is, because everybody's needs are different. And, we could go on for ever and ever and ever with the scenarios that exist out there. But what a big deal, I think, for, certainly smaller businesses that, like you said, they're starting out, they're startups, they're entrepreneurs, they're getting their feet wet, they're falling forward and really need the assistance at that point, I think, as much as any time in their career. And to be able to do it in an affordable manner certainly is just an awesome thing. So how long has Scribe been available? And is it available just locally, or is it available throughout the country?
So Scribe has been available for a little bit over a year now. We tested it with a set of 10 clients to see how they would feel about it. And unfortunately, one of the 10 ended up selling their business. So we never got through the full year process with that person. But all the other 9 absolutely love it, and for the most part are still on that program. They found that they had less issues. We were taking care of things, and we were taking things off of their plate. So A, they didn't have to worry, and B, all those avoidable problems were actually avoided. So the businesses grew much more smoothly and without any interruption.
Right.
You also asked about where it's available. So our main office right now is just outside Philadelphia, like you mentioned. And that office is our largest, and we service pretty much all of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York out of that office. But Scribe is available throughout the country. We are growing. We're growing the amount of attorneys that we have that offer it. So if there is someone that has a need in a certain place in the country, we'll definitely either be able to help them ourselves, depending upon the matter, because the federal level work, the trademarks and the patents are all at the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is a specific state level issue, we would have to find an attorney licensed in that state. And if someone needs Scribe in that state, and we don't already have an attorney placed in that state, we'll go out and we'll find the right person for them.
Great. So you are actively pursuing other attorneys in other states to represent your business and Scribe?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Are there particular businesses? Is it startups? Maybe it's a classification of startups or entrepreneurs that really have the opportunity to benefit most, or is that really not accurate? Is it just, business in general?
I would say there's two main groups. One is the startups and entrepreneurs because they don't have a lot of capital. So the way that we help them is just we keep it to a lower cost. The work gets done in a little bit slower manner because we kind of portion it out throughout the month. But they love that, okay, they know they need X amount of dollars per month for the legal work to get done, and they know it's getting done. And then if they've got investors or other people that are interested in the business, they also have that knowing that they have an attorney working on it makes them feel good about it as well.
Right.
The second group, I would say, is a lot of manufacturing companies. Those companies are dealing with a lot of vendors and a lot of vendor contracts, and that becomes a lot of work for the people inside the company. The other thing that a lot of manufacturing companies have is intellectual property. So they need someone to manage that portfolio of patents and trademarks and trade secrets that allows them to be the business that they are. So I have a lot of manufacturing companies that love this because they've got someone watching their back at all times. God forbid China starts producing the same products as them. We know it instantly, and we can handle it instantly.
That's a good point. And, along that point, I think there's a lot of people that have intellectual property in their business and probably don't even realize it. I also think there's a lot of people when it comes to trademarking their name, which is a huge deal. And you said it earlier that they don't go out and check out that, somebody else has that name. How does that fall into play when you run into another company that's got the same name as you, but they're in another state? How can that affect your business?
It definitely affects your business. So with the trademarks, what business is local? There's very few nowadays. Maybe your local pizza shop, a few other things like that. But most businesses are created to grow to a national level, much less an international level.
Right.
I have certain patents over in Europe that I'm working on right now because the businesses are growing. And in this global marketplace, you really need to be careful about what you're doing. And that is a big problem that I see is that people will name their business and it's probably an extraordinary name. But if it's already chosen by somebody else who has it registered, then you're going to be, climbing an uphill battle to be able to use that name. So, one of the easiest things to do right off the bat is have an attorney run a search. Check out this name, see if it's available, and go ahead and reserve it for yourself because you don't want to put all of these advertising and marketing dollars and all of this time into building a company that all of a sudden, in a moment's notice, you could lose the name and all the goodwill associated with it.
That is a scary thing. And that, I believe, is something that most people, again, they don't think of it, but to think that you would put years into your business, whether it be 3, 4, 5, 10, the number is irrelevant when it comes to the effort that you put in to get your business off the ground, you get it going. The fact that somebody could come along and just, take that name from you is a scary thing, especially if you've, done a great job branding your business. So that to me is just a huge point specifically for small businesses, but,
but also medium-sized ones too. As they develop a new product or a new name for a new service, that's all trademarkable as well.
Right.
And it is true that most companies, almost every company that you can think of, has some sort of intellectual property. And I try to explain it to them as in we have different tools to protect that, but it might be as simple as having a non-disclosure agreement so that your independent contractor can't steal your client list.
Right.
I mean, that's intellectual property. Your list of clients is an important part of your business.
I was just going to ask you,
every business has
give me
that.
a couple examples of intellectual property, because there might be some people that really don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. So I usually ask people, what makes your business different? So it could be a product that is produced differently. That's a method of producing that's, specific to you and your business. That's intellectual property. It could be your client list. You have certain people that you know or certain contacts. That is what makes your business different than others, and that is intellectual property. It could be a secret recipe, a secret way of doing things. And it doesn't have to cost a lot to protect your intellectual property, because a trade secret is really just don't tell anyone.
Right.
Lock it away in a safe. Only let the most important people know what it is, and then make sure you have some confidentiality agreements and some non-disclosure agreements in place. Not expensive at all the way up to you created this new invention and now we need to spend tens of thousands of dollars patenting it.
Right.
So I don't want people to be, first I want them to realize that almost every business does have some form of intellectual property, and that intellectual property is valuable, because if you ever go to sell your business, that's what you're selling.
Right.
So the more it's protected, the more value you're going to get when you sell it.
Right.
But it also doesn't have to cost a lot, so it doesn't have to be a scary thing.
Right.
We have different tools for different, if it's software, we might need a copyright for it, or we might need to keep that a secret. It just depends on the specific situation.
Yeah. And again, there's a million of them. Unfortunately, we're about out of time, but I just want to hit again on the type of offerings you have from, again, contracts, joint ventures, trademarks, patents, licensing, and the list goes on. So, for our listeners out there, if you need to reach out to Janelle, she certainly is very well-rounded in business law. And with that, Janelle, I would like to give you the opportunity, if someone wants to reach out to you, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is probably a phone call. Our phone number is 484-801-0021. Or my law firm's homepage is at www.snyderbusinesslaw.com. And I like to say that's Snyder like the pretzels, but unfortunately no relation.
Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time again to join us. It's been a pleasure to have you here with us today. And again, for any business owners that are out there that would like to reach out to Janelle, I think you'd be making a great investment in your business, as well as your future, in protecting it for sure, and doing the right things. But again, Janelle, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.